he forgot that he fell asleep to and forgot that he's the one who chose to be here. I'm I'm just one conversation away from helping somebody, so it's people call it that, but at the end of the day, I'm an imagination coach, manifestation coach, life coach, spiritual coach. I don't know. I even help people with business, even though, you know, it's something I've been doing for many years, um, and I didn't know what it was. I in fact thought it was. I actually used to think that it was a flaw of mine, my ability. Like now, I know that it's actually helpful. But growing up, I always thought that it was just this like thing that like I could do, but it kind of annoyed people because most people don't want to change. I had to grow up and realize that a lot of people don't want to change, and they like to complain, but they don't necessarily want a solution.
Right, right.
So, but I have been doing it for such a long time, and then in 2020, um, an old roommate of mine hit me up out of the blue, asking if she could hire me as a coach, which I thought was weird because I was like, why? I mean, you're my friend. Like, why would you pay me to, do what I do anyways?
Right,
And
right.
she insisted, all that type of stuff, and then that's when the business started, and that's when I went because I was like, there's nothing I would rather do. There's nothing I would rather do than to help someone get it. And by get it, I mean know who they are and how this works. And it's like, and I just love it. I love seeing a spark go off in somebody's eye, that aha moment, and like the impacts that I've made, um, the lives that I've helped shift and stuff like that. It's just been it's so rewarding, and I just
Yes,
want to
sir.
keep doing more of it.
I understand why, man. I understand why. So, like I said, you've been doing this for pretty much your whole life, as far as helping people and trying to change. Help people change in the ways they need to do. At what point, I guess, what what year it was exactly that you kind of made your first bit of money? I guess you could say off of helping somebody in the way you do.
Yeah, it
Was
would have
it?
been 2020. It would have been 2020. So
Okay.
when when my friend hired me, it wasn't much of anything, but I loved it. I was like, can I do this again? And then I got a second client, and I charged them the
Right.
same amount that they were paying to be in some like self development course,
Okay.
like an in-person center. So, and I was just like, oh, okay, this is where I'm going to die.
I got.
So
I love it.
um, so yeah, but it's always been more or less. It's just been like like though I've wanted it to succeed, it hadn't taken on a big chunk of my energy or time. It was always just like word of mouth. Every now and
Right.
again, I might reach out to some people, but it wasn't like a huge focus to grow the business or fill my calendar or anything like that.
Right. Right.
Um, that didn't take place until last year when I was like, okay, let me take this a little bit more seriously. Let me have a better idea of what I'm up to.
Right.
Um, so
Okay.
I'm like I said, I'm a manifestation coach. So I work with people. Um, I teach people how to manifest. So um, in it, I utilize the teachings of a guy named Neville Goddard, and
Okay. Yeah.
basically basically the lesson at hand is that the essence of your being, the essence of your being is actually one with God, And if you can actually recognize that and understand that about yourself, you recognize that there's infinite possibilities that are available to you at any given moment. But
Right. Right.
being that we have our human consciousness or human imagination, we have these concepts that we have about ourselves that filter this infinite possibility into this one funnel that we call Mitchell or Jerry or you know
Right.
Joe Blow or whatever.
Right.
And
Right.
but if you can learn to change your assumptions about yourself and your world, the whole world will actually shift and mold to match that new state of consciousness. Basically, it's what Trey is trying to get people to understand with psychocybernetics.
Right.
So,
Right. Right. I got you. No, and
yeah.
I'm familiar with Goddard. I started watching his stuff somewhat recently with a guy on YouTube named Elmer Walker
Oh,
Jr.
Elmer
You
Walker
said,
Jr. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yes, sir.
Well, Elmer Walker
So,
Jr. is actually his granddad, who was a
grandfather, right?
student of
Okay,
Neville's. Yeah, yeah. But yes,
that's so cool.
yeah,
That's so cool. And
I'm part of that community. That's
really,
I don't
okay.
know. I don't know Locker personally,
Mhm.
but that whole Neville Goddard community, it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing.
I
But
love it, man.
I don't market to them. I'm part of the
Okay,
community, but I don't market to them. I have no interest in working with people who already know Neville. I want
okay,
to work with people who are new to Neville or have never heard of him at all.
okay,
Um, because one of the things um, one of the things I came to discover was it 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 doesn't. How do I put this? One could argue, well, Jerry, why don't you just focus in your niche? Like, there's plenty of people there in the Neville Goddard community that you can work with, and I'm like, yes, I know, but I don't want to be known as a Neville Goddard coach or anything like that. I want to help the person sitting across from me on the plane. I don't want to be like, well, Neville Goddard said it, you know.
right.
So,
It doesn't feel natural to you exactly. You want it to be kind of natural and organic.
mhm. I do want to teach people about who Neville Goddard was. I do think that that's very important. I do have a lot of respect for who he is and what he's done for the world. But what he's done for me, shit. I mean, my whole life changed when I discovered his teachings, and I still listen to him to this day. To
Gotcha.
this
I
day,
got you.
yeah.
Okay. Well, awesome, man. So I guess when you, like I said, you've been coaching for a long time since you were younger. When exactly did his teachings when did it become about manifestation to you? Was it always about manifestation, or was it it just grew into that?
So you asked some really good questions.
Thank you.
So uh, no, it hasn't been. So the reason why I actually got into Neville Goddard is because I was actually going through a spiritual awakening, and and a lot of stuff was happening in my life. I was having a lot of like spiritual and mystical experiences, and this
Yeah.
would have been in 2014,
Okay.
and uh, I'm skipping a bunch of stuff. It was just a lot of up and downs, a lot of roller coaster, not understanding what was going on.
Right.
Um, I was overcoming, negative choices that I had been making in the last couple of years, like the previous couple of years,
Right.
and then May of 2014, I discovered this guy named Wayne Dyer, and he was giving this talk, and it was called like Wishes Fulfilled or something like that, and he was talking about our spiritual nature and all this stuff, um, and he talked about the Tao Te Ching and the guy named Neville. And I was so moved by the talk and all this, and then like later that week, I had this again another spiritual moment where I was like on the roof. It was my friend's birthday. I was on the roof. I see the moon. I'm just bawling, crying. I'm just like losing it. I don't know what's going on. So the next day, I go to Barnes and Noble and I buy the Tao Te Ching, And as I walk out of the Barnes and Nobles in Union Square, there's this like shaman with this sitar, and he's smiling from ear to ear, looking directly at me. And I was like, what is going on here? And I was so intrigued that I went up and like started talking to this guy, and he starts talking to me in a way that I did not understand.
Uh,
And but I didn't understand anything he was saying to me, but at the same time he was touching something inside of me that like was so intriguing. Skipping a bunch of story later that day, I'm barking for my friend's like concert in East Village and stuff, and some folks see me barking, and they were like, "Dude, you should come party with us." I go party with them. Turns out that they knew this shaman that
oh
I
wow.
met earlier that day again, and then I had another spiritual moment. Like literally, I had this vision, this crazy stuff happening, and so that was that. A couple months later, I'm listening to that same talk from Wayne, and he's talking about this guy named Neville, and I was just like, let me check this guy out. Let me find out who this Neville guy is. And I find this like short little 19-minute audio from this guy, and he says most men are invariably unaware that essentially most people are unaware that the life that they're created is created with their inner conversations. And I was like, and it just blew my mind. I was like, wait, what? Really? And then he talked about in the same tape. He talked about this woman who was sad because her father just passed away. She was broke. All these kids were playing on the trolley in San Francisco, and she's missing her father. It's Christmas time, and she's crying. And then she started to match. She was like, "This is not. These are not tears of my sadness that are on my cheek. This isn't the salt of my tears, but this is the salt of the ocean spray." And then like a couple weeks later, someone sends her tickets to go on this voyage to the Caribbean or something like that. And I was like, this is crazy because I know what he's talking about. I've actually done that like a
Uh,
number of times, and I was blown away. And he's talking about all these things in this 19-minute video, and I was hooked. I was like, whoever this guy is, he's telling the truth because this lines up with my whole life. Like I imagine I feel like I'm something, and then I just become that something. And but nobody had ever explained it before, and so I
right.
started studying his work, and you know, studying his work, found a mentor, all that type of stuff, and it's been 10 years now. I've been up to
I love it.
I study other modalities, I study other people, but for whatever reason, I keep coming back to this
Okay.
Neville Goddard guy. Yeah.
Gotcha. Wow. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. But it's always very interesting to hear about, like you said, spiritual awakenings and to hear about your experiences. So, now, when you said barking, do you mean like you were kind of like raving at a concert or whatever, just loud?
Oh, I guess that's a old entertainment term, but no, when you're on the street and you be like, "Hey, come check out this." Captain Baby was the name of my friend's band. They're like, come check out Captain Baby. They're playing
Okay.
at 8. Hey, you
Yeah,
see a cute girl and be like, "Hey, bring your friends. Come to check out the concert." Hey,
I
dudes,
got you. I got
come this way. Yeah,
just promote. I got you. Okay.
Carnival Barker.
Okay. I got you. I got you. No, that's cool, man. That's very interesting and insightful as well. To hear about more experiences because again, it's a very small percentage of people that have any idea about manifestation. Sadly enough, right? I mean, we all play a part of it, but most people don't realize that they do. So it's always interesting to hear insights, like you said, the lady and how she did it herself, and you were able to see that. I guess let's see. Did you ever the shaman that you didn't really understand what he was saying much, but you were drawn into? Did you ever like as you grew? Did you learn? You figured out what he was alluding to with the
Like,
conversation y'all had?
I yeah, later. Not.
Yeah.
I didn't like follow along with him or anything like that. It wasn't like we were
Right.
close friends. It was just a very apropos, like looking back looking back on it, it was like it had to happen. Like
Right.
it was just part of my journey.
I
But
love
at
it.
the time,
Okay.
I was just shocked. I was like, oh my god, what is it? Like, how is this all happening?
Like, this is meant to be. That's awesome,
Yeah.
man. That's really cool.
Like knowing what I
Um,
know now, I recognize what happened back then. It was like again, it was my state of consciousness. So it's like I like the world was matching what I was holding on to in consciousness. And so it was obvious that that guy was going to show up. It's obvious that I would have run into people who knew that guy, and I needed all those things to happen in order for me to have those visions,
wow.
right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, you get to a place if you study this type of work enough, you start to recognize that like creation's already finished. Like there's only God here in this world, and when you start to recognize that there's nothing to really fear, there's nothing to really strive for, there's nothing
All
to
right.
force out here in this world, because only
Yeah.
God only acts and is in existing beings or men. And so you know the essence of who I am, the essence of who you are, my in-laws, my neighbors, the homeless person, the king, they don't know they don't know that they're playing a part in my play as much as I don't know that I'm playing a part in their play.
Wow.
Yeah,
I like that. I like that a lot.
yeah.
One thing I wanted to ask you about what you just said was your state of consciousness. You didn't exactly understand what was going on and why it was happening. Now you do. But would it have been possible, like for people who, would it have been possible for you to like stray off the course? Like, would it have been possible for you to look at everything that was happening and just avoid it and neglect it? And, like, what, can you speak to that a little bit? How do you think people kind of fall into that trap?
Um, well, so there's a teacher named Joel Goldsmith that I also study, and he says that we're hypnotized. We're invariably hypnotized by this outside this world, and because of it, we can fall asleep to the machinations of what's going on, and then I personally identifying that as our self. This struggle that I'm going through is who I am. Uh, this goodness that's happening is who I am, whatever it is, and we can easily fall asleep. Neville would say it this way. He was just like most people will say, "Oh, it would have happened anyway," right? So,
Right, right,
like he said it. I've seen it myself where I teach people this stuff. They awaken to what's true. Their life shifts and changes, and then they fall in love with the image and completely forget the creator and fall asleep until they wake up again. But I do it too. Everyone
right.
does it. Um, but yeah, you know,
Wow. No, I like that. I like that a lot. And I guess, can you pinpoint what, like, some of the fundamentals of that falling asleep? Like, for generally speaking? Or is it, I mean, I know it
like
varies
why
by people,
why
but
of why somebody falls asleep.
yeah, the fundamentals
Hmm.
of it. Could you, so you can
Well,
pinpoint that?
the fun. Well, hold on. So the fundamentals of falling asleep are the fundamentals of manifesting.
Falling asleep, like what throws people off and allows people
Mm.
to kind of fall into that lower destiny
Yeah, yeah,
path.
yeah. So, um, I think the best way for me to say it is like people don't recognize their own harvest. So they it's just I mean it's just belief in secondary causes. Like it's just they think it's that other person. They think it's that the job that they think the job is what gives them the security. They think it's that their spouse that gives them the love. They think it's the gym that gives them the health. But that's not the truth. Those are actually results of who you actually are. And what happens is, so we're in the business world. So what happens is, people will go, yeah, I'm going to change my life. I'm going to make the shift. And they jump into that shift, right? And it's like, it's a huge shift for them. But now they're in it. They're in this new way of being and completely forgot that, no, you consciously stepped into that. Right? And so when they consciously
Right.
step
Right.
into it and then they get into it, they fall asleep. And they think that that's it. And they forget that no, it was actually them that chose it. You know
Uh,
what I'm saying? So
yeah.
what will
Yeah.
happen is, here's a perfect example of how it works. Um, so I was being driven by a taxi driver, and we were just having a conversation, and I asked him where he was from. He said he's from Iran, and how he'd been in America for I think 30 years or something like that. I was like, oh wow, that's amazing. Do you still have family back home? And he was just like, oh yeah, my kids are still there. I was like, oh no way. Oh, when was the last time you saw them? It's like, I haven't seen them in 25 years. I was like, oh my God, why? What's going on? Why haven't you been back? He's like, I'm just so busy. I have to do this. I have to do that. I have to take care of my cab. I have to. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, huh, this guy completely forgot how he got here. So I asked him, I was like, so what's preventing you from going to visit your family? Again, he gives me the answer, and I was just like, but really, but what's stopping you from going there? It's like, I just told you this and the other. It's like, okay, let me ask you this: did you know anything about how you were going to make it work in America when you first moved here? He's like, no. Did people naysay you and say that it was going to be impossible and that you'd never make it? You're going to turn right back around and come right back to Iran? He's like, oh yeah, I was the only one who had my back. I was like, oh yeah, yeah, cool, okay, cool. So what happened? Why'd you do it? I mean, there was no chance of success. You probably had responsibilities and stuff, right? He's like, yeah. So what's the difference? And he couldn't answer me. He just literally sat there in silence. I was like, and then I said to him, I was like, here's the deal. You're going to make the exact same choice that you did 30 years ago. And this time, you're going to go and see your family, and you're going to enjoy the trip. And you're going to be back here, and you're going to remember this conversation. Can you do that? Sure enough, dude start bald crying. Like I said, my whole love is like seeing people get it.
Yeah.
I don't want to go and say, "Hey, go listen to Neville Goddard and study all that." No, I understand that we do this all the time, right? Most
Wow.
people, that guy fell asleep. Like when he came here with like gusto on a whim, like no, there was nothing but faith. But now he's afraid to go visit his family because he's afraid of what might happen, even though that's truly his desire. You know what I'm saying? But because
Yes.
he's
Yeah.
asleep.
That's like,
Most people are that. Yeah.
wow. I love that, man. I love that. Nothing but faith on the way over, but having to wake up and get back to where, and like I said, not realizing that his own actions led up to that moment of him not realizing that he's the farmer, he's the one in control. I
Exactly.
love that.
He fell victim. He fell victim to his own creation. So he's just like
Right.
he forgot that he fell asleep to and forgot that he's the one who chose to be here. And just like he can choose to go see his family. There's no reason he had no reason to move here other than that's what he wanted. He has no reason to go visit his family other than he wants to go visit his family. But he's worried about the how. He's worried about the support. He's worried about the possibilities of failure.
Right.
You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And
Yes. Yeah.
that's the sleeper. That's the person who's
Yes.
sleeping.
Worried about the how, not the actual doing of it. Like I said,
Hmm.
and that's something else it talks about in many different things, but psycho-cybernetics as well. How our servo mechanism is always working. We visualize, we see what it is we want, and then we make it happen instead of worrying about how of making it happen.
Correct.
I love that.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
love that. So the breakthrough you had with him, like I said, that was one cab ride, right? Like he
Hmm.
wasn't even a client, and you just met
No.
him, talked to him.
Hmm.
So
This
do
happens
you
all the
find
time.
happens all the time? So even so, the people that are like the actual clients, like how well? Let's see, a breakthrough like that is that simple for you at times? For you just have the conversation and the way you guide them along the conversation, a breakthrough is that imminent if it needs to be. Do you think it's an attraction to that person that then allows you to like help them have that breakthrough in that short span of time, or
It's just one conversation at a time. It's just being present. It's just listening. It's just recognizing myself in them. Um,
mm,
it's
I like
I
that.
yeah. I don't know how to answer that. And like I'm a I'm a trained actor as well, so we have to study the human condition and stuff like that. So, but for the most part, really, it's just I can people to ask. They ask in very interesting ways, and I just pose certain questions that are super powerful that get them out of their normal way of thinking about things. Like a
Yeah,
common thing people say to me is just like, "Wow, that's a good question. I never thought about that before."
I love it,
Sorry for
man.
being so nonchalant about it, but I
Oh
just it
no,
is what it is.
that's perfect, man. No, that's perfect. Don't be sorry at all. That's awesome. I
Yeah.
love that. And I like how you said recognizing yourself in them.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's that's powerful, man. That's
Yeah.
powerful.
I mean, I'm not from Iran, right? I don't drive a taxi cab, but I know that feeling of wanting to be somewhere and having excuses as to why I can't be there, right? And knowing what
Right.
I know about manifesting, I know it's as quick as it's as simple as getting somebody to feel the reality of that end. And if once they tap it, the question is, okay, you feel it, do you want it? And usually the answer is yes. I was like, all right, cool. Well, go to bed tonight with that feeling. Go to bed tonight for the next 21 nights. Go to bed feeling like you're in Iran for the next 21 nights. You don't even have to physically try to do anything out here. You don't have to physically do anything out here. Just go to bed knowing that you are the man that you want to be, right?
I love it.
Because an assumption, though false, if persisted in, hardens into fact. So if you start assuming that you're successful, if you start assuming that you're respected, if you start assuming that you make money, it's like, oh my God, Mitchell, how would you feel if you were able to double your clientele in a month? How would that feel?
It would be it would be amazing. I know I would be helping a lot of people. I mean,
Okay, I'm gonna
yeah. I
ask. I'm
mean,
gonna ask again because this is the funny bit.
it
People go
is.
into
Yeah.
thought. They go into thought. And I'm asking about how would you feel?
I
There
mean,
it is. That was it.
yeah.
That was it. That was it. That feeling. There it is. There it
Yes.
is. All right. So hold it because you're gonna yeah butt yourself out of it. You just looked up, feeling it. The possibility is there. Now your rational mind is going, God, yeah, but Jerry, you don't understand. I've been grinding, I've been hustling, I've made all these mistakes and blah blah blah. Self condemnation, self condemnation. That's cool. Allow that to be there, but feel the feeling of what it would be like if you had an extra client, two extra clients. Feels different, doesn't it?
It does. It does. Having those conversations, having that effect on them.
Yeah, right? Now, What would happen if you started assuming that you are this person now?
It would come to fruition. It is coming to fruition.
And what would it be like if it was super easy and super convenient?
There's no better path. I mean, it
There's,
is.
it
It's the
is what
path
it
to be on.
is.
Yes.
So now, all I would say to you then is, well, if we were working together, like so with my clients, I would do something where we'd work together for 3 months. I do this like I have a 90-day program that I'm trying to do it in a shorter period of time, but the 90-day program seems to work for folks because it just gives them an opportunity to waver, go back and forth, and all this stuff. But by the end of that 90 days, man, their lives have absolutely like just changed. Things crumble. It's not like it's always pretty because like the world has to change, right? But
Right.
but they do it with the greatest of ease because they know who they are. They know that they're walking that bridge, right? And they also know because I'm with them that it's like, oh no, this problem isn't a problem. It's actually just a bridge that's leading you to where you need to go. And like scripture says, in my father's house there are many mansions, and if it were not so, I would have told you that I go to prepare a place for you, that where I go, there you will be also. So when you live in the end or live in that ideal state, your body will be compelled to move there, and you won't even, you'll think that you're just doing like a normal everyday thing, but it's exactly what needs to happen in order for you to like make contact. You know
Yes. I love it, man. I love it. I
that
love that.
feeling,
And
that feeling that you had, I like persist in that feeling.
I will. I will. I will. And I've been working a lot recently on my visualization, my manifestation, my seeing that reality jumping, if you will. Seeing where I am and just being a part of that. Because for so long, I have been in that energetic state of like, I have to feel more pain. I need to feel more pain. I need to feel more pain before I deserve that outcome. You know,
That's the
and
trick.
right, and it's like you keep going, you keep not going through the motions, but doing what you believe you need to do, and being there and working on the things you do. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, when it didn't work out, the back of my mind is like, you just got to feel more. You got to feel more. You're supposed to be going through this. You're supposed to be going through this.
Mm-hmm.
You're supposed to be feeling more of this pain. And so recently, it has been more of that. I'm already there. I'm already successful because I'm a part of that process. I'm a part of I'm being who I need to be. I'm becoming who I need to become, and I already am what I need to be to have that outcome.
Right.
So,
There's a phrase, be do have.
yeah,
So, it's about who are you being, not about what you are doing. The doing is a result of who you are being. People have it
you're me.
backwards,
Right, 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 right.
right?
Our society is all about have do be.
Our societies definitely have do be. Others our societies have do be. Our societies also do have be or
Right,
do be have. But it's
right,
really about being. If you really boil it down to any given moment, it's never about what you're doing. It's about who you are being. Like if you're in an argument with your wife, who are you being? You
right,
know,
right.
if you notice who you're being, you'll notice that your behaviors kind of match who you're being. you know.
That's yes, yep.
So yeah, I mean, like so you know who EO Locker is. Like, I the one thing I don't necessarily like about his channel anymore is that he does a lot of those meditations and like you know listen to this
What's the name?
overnight and this is what's going to happen and so on and so forth. I'm like,
Right.
it's not true.
Yeah.
It's helpful, but it's not true. Um, um, like I said, it's like The guy who went to from Iran, it didn't take hours of meditation to get to that point. It
Right.
just it's literally a feeling, and then once you know that feeling, how often do you go back to that feeling, right? Because
Yeah.
the state that you most often return to is your dwelling place,
Yeah.
right?
I like that. Yeah.
So, meaning most people are habituated to their state of consciousness and and find it hard to change.
For sure.
And 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 they'll do all these external actions to try to change, but they never actually change who they're being. And so they might get a short-term result, um,
Right.
but the sorry, I'm trying to charge my computer.
You're good.
Um, but once you truly understand what Neville was teaching, um, it's absolutely life changing. Like there's no one to blame. Like not even yourself. Like it's just what do you want now? Oh,
You
you
would.
fell down this hole. Shoot. Instead of complaining and beating yourself up for falling down the hole, imagine that you are the person that you want to be.
There's a lot of different ways we could take it from there, man. One thing I wanted to ask, I know part of my journey, I've had a lot of, I would say comparison is a good way to put it together. A lot of comparison, a lot of, you know, I should be like this, I should be like this, and kind of beat myself up to get to that point. But like as you get to that, you do make progress. You do get closer to that point. You wonder like if it was sustainable. You wonder if I was if it pushed me towards getting to that point, but it also created something opposite on the backside. Can you speak to that? Like as far as habits that are they're kind of double edged swords. They might get you to where you're closer to where you wanted to go, but they kind of might create a different issue at the backside.
Like they burn you out, or there's still some sort of like self sabotage, or
Right.
there's yeah. Again, it's because of where you're coming from. Like you
Yeah.
said, it's like you compared yourself into that way of being, right?
Right.
So it's not an ideal. You weren't coming from a state of ideal. You were coming from a state of lack, and
Yeah.
and coming from that state of lack, when you get done with it, you're burned out. You're just like because it
Right.
doesn't come. It Christians would say it's like you built a house on a rocky foundation,
Right. Right.
right?
Right.
Like you got God speaks to you in through desire. And so what you're to do is to accept it and accept that you are that person. Most people don't do that. They're like, "Oh my god, like that they have that car and they made their million when they were 18 and I'm still over here struggling and this and the other." And all you're doing within your imagination is imagining that you suck,
Right.
right? You're
I
take
mean, you did it, right.
I mean, right? That's what and that's what you're assuming to be true about you, right? And
Right.
the whole world is reflecting it, and the way they reflect it back to you is there's that person with that fancy car, there's that person who made their million at 18, there's your wife over there complaining that the bills aren't paid, there's all the proof to match that state of consciousness. So
Right.
change your state. How do you change your state? What would it feel like if I was the ideal man? Oh my god, it would feel amazing. Oh great. Well, feel that. Just feel it. Feel it
Really.
again. And then feel it again. And then you go about your day, you drop it and you go about your day, and the day will prove that you are not that. Everything about your day will prove that you are not that. But within, you return back to that state of consciousness. And the more you return there, that will become your dwelling place. And then when it becomes natural to you, then the world will change.
It has to become natural. You have to already be energetically that person, which takes
Correct.
you have to get over your own inertia. Right. I love that.
So when I manifested Hawaii, my mentor was like, Jerry, just go into the closet, shut the door, and imagine that you're home. And so I would sit in the silence. I literally would wake up in the morning, still laying in bed, and I would be like, I am home. I am home. I'm home. And I would just feel it would just allow myself, even though originally in the first couple goes I couldn't feel it, but I would just tell myself that that was where I am, right. And then
Yeah.
in the afternoon I would again sit in the closet. I'm home. I'm home. I'm home. And then when I would go to bed at night, I would say I'm home. And I did that for about a month and a half or something like that. And then a vision came, and it was of my son playing on some rocks. I could feel tropical wind on my face. I could see my knees. It was all silhouetted. I was like, oh my God, that was it. It was done. I didn't do the meditation anymore. I completely stopped the meditation because I knew it was done. The seed was planted. And
Wow.
um, and then a month after that, I woke up in the middle of the night thinking that I lived in Hawaii. And I checked my phone to see what time it is, 3:30 in the morning, and there's a notification on my phone that says one-way tickets to Honolulu for $99. And the feeling within myself matched the feeling that I had when my son was playing on those rocks. It matched the feeling of home. And so I bought the tickets. My rational mind, my logical mind was like, this is crazy. This is nuts. What are you doing? How are y'all going to do that? You don't know anybody there, all that stuff. But my internal knowing knew. So I bought the tickets within 15 minutes.
Wow.
So,
That's
um, yeah.
that's amazing. That's awesome, man. That is awesome. And I guess for you to be able to do something like that, I guess have it's kind of a regression. Like I guess what I think of is like my relationship. Being able to do something like that in my relationship. Where, like, is your wife into the stuff that you're into, or what does that look like for her? Like,
That's a great question. That's a really good question. She's not into it like I'm into it.
okay.
Um, but she can't deny it because I'm always there to remind her. It's like, you remember you wanted this. It's like, don't go to sleep on me. Um,
It's like- I love
you know,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So she's uh, I can't not study this work, and all that stuff. So she knows. But she doesn't need to know. No one needs to know. No one needs to know this work. You can imagine for them. It's prayer.
Right.
So I think it's lovely if somebody, if your partner was into it too. I find myself to be a little jealous of people who are in relationships with people who are into it, as a partnership. But
Yeah.
it is what am I imagining, right? So
Right.
but but in regards to your loved ones and stuff like that, you can always imagine that they're into growth and self development or this spiritual work or whatever. You can always imagine that. What would it be like? What would it feel like, Mitchell, if you were in a relationship with that type of person? You know what I'm saying? It's the same exercise,
Right.
right?
Right.
What
Right.
would it feel like if you're um because it's always about self. So it's like, who is Mitchell as this man, right? Like, don't make it about the other person. At the end of the day, it's your experience that we're talking about. So when somebody is like, someone is like sick, someone in your life is sick, how would it feel? How would Mitchell feel if his friend came back to him healthy? Oh my God, I feel amazing. Great. Now feel amazing. And hear your friend say something, or you could even say to your friend, "Man, I've never seen you look better." And then you hear them say, "It's like I've never felt better." Right? And you actually
Right.
hear that and feel that within yourself. Okay, spouse. I wish my spouse showed up in a different way. Okay, cool. What would it feel like if Mitchell was in that type of relationship? Oh my God, it would feel amazing. Blah blah blah. It, it it's so ridiculous how simple it is that people completely miss it.
Right. Right. Yep. Just like everything nowadays, right? We want to complicate everything. That's why we have so many issues. Um,
Yeah.
if if let's say someone wants to practice this and wants to start doing this, is it best to do like one thing at a time, or can you do like the whole reality kind of shift? Like how do you think that works?
That
How does that
that's
work?
a huge question. Um, it, you can do it one at a time. You can do huge shifts. Um, I mean, it's dependent on the person, and they have to be honest with themselves. There is a story. I mean, I've experienced it myself, but this story is way more powerful than what I would even share. But there was a woman in Neville's audience that was like, she was dead broke. Like her car was broken down. Like she couldn't even afford like the clothes so she could even go in for a good interview and anything like that. And basically, she was saying to Neville's, "Is like, I just have all these things. It's overwhelming. Like I can't, like, she tries to focus on one thing, but because her mind's on all these other things that she wants, she just couldn't do it."
Right.
And so what she decided to do was just say a simple phrase like, "Isn't it wonderful that something marvelous is happening to me now? Isn't it wonderful that something marvelous is happening to me now?" There's another phrase which is, "I have a lavish, steady, dependable income consistent with integrity and mutual benefit." Right? But it's not about the
Right.
words. It's not about the words. It's about the feeling that it evokes in you.
What's up, guys? I hope you really enjoyed this interview with Jerry. I know I did. If you couldn't tell, you probably could. I'm going to leave his Instagram below if anybody wants to check out him or any of his amazing work. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Let me know what you liked about it. If there was something that really resonated with you about something he said, something I said, whatever we talked about, leave it below, man, and share it with somebody who might be in need. Let's make the world a better place.